In this video, we're going to talk about the use of formal plants within our garden here in Raleigh, North Carolina. The front garden is kind of a cottage garden look to it. That's kind of what we've gone for. The back garden is a little bit different, but everything in this garden, almost everything, is just kind of a one of a kind. We have a few groupings where there's 3 of something here or there, but for the most part, being plant collectors, we've managed to collect 400 different plants out here. And when you're trying to design with them and figure out how they're supposed to go together, it's good to occasionally have a few things in the garden that are kind of formal plants and formal shapes. And we do that with a lot of boxwoods. We have a surprising amount of boxwoods here in the garden, and we have some formal shaped conifers as well. So we thought we'd go through a few of those and you can see how they're used within kind of a chaotic space. It rained pretty heavily last night, so things are being held down a bit by some rain, which very beneficial rain that we had last night. But it is, I can see the garden in about an hour or two will stand back up a bit from what you're seeing in this video. The first one I'll point out is the better boxwood, the skylight better boxwood out by the road. It's in the middle of those cone flowers, and those cone flowers have just kind of selected where they're going to be every year because they're it's Echinacea purpurea. It's just a straight species, and they'll seed themselves, and that one that's directly behind it kind of needs to go. But we've left it there for this season. Skylight's kind of the most boxwood in the better boxwood collection, meaning you can do anything with it. You can make it a round ball or a Christmas tree or whatever you want to do with it. But it's out here next to an agave, next to green penguin pine. A lot of action going on out there. And that's where we'll throw in something like a boxwood that's a kind of a formal shape like that. If you go to the other side of the fence, directly behind the fence, there are a couple baby gem boxwoods. And again, they're in the middle of a kind of a chaotic little crowd over here where they just kind of settle the eye. That's the kind of the purpose of having something in the garden that's not chaotic. Another example of one of these formal shapes is this little dwarf Chamaecyparis. This is a baby blue ice. We actually did an individual plant video on this one that went up on the channel, I think earlier this year. It's a great looking little pretty heat tolerant conifer that we can use out in this full sun space. It's got that blue hue to it and hasn't been pruned. That's just how that grows. We kind of redid this little piece of this bed, so it'll be a little bit different next year. There's not very many spaces in this garden where you're going to see that much mulch anywhere. This little abelia, this is a Suntastic Pink. This is one of the newer variegated abelias. It has that formal shape to it, but it's variegated, so it may not settle, be as settling to the eye as some of these little blue or green conifers or green shrubs, evergreen shrubs, but it still has that kind of formal shape in the middle of what is a fairly chaotic annual border. If you're coming back this way, Steph, the Pancake Arborvitae is another great example of a plant being used to, everything else around it is, a Japanese maple or a tree or perennials that die back to the ground, and that thing just kind of stays like that. It's just the perfect plant to kind of hold the place during 12 months out of the year and not have everything too chaotic. I think this has kind of quickly become my favorite of the better boxwoods. This is Heritage. It's just, that thing's only been pruned once, maybe twice maybe. I mean, it was a little 1-gallon container when we got it, and I think maybe I've sheared it twice. It could use a little bit of that now if I wanted to, if I was being, overly exacting here in the garden, which I'm typically not. But it's the perfect plant for this little corner where the path turns and splits away. And again, it's just in a neighborhood full of perennials and annuals and things that kind of change all year long. But that Heritage boxwood just kind of stays exactly the same. This one can get as tall and narrow as you want it. So you can grow this one as a little, basically a little tube if you wanted to, or a little Christmas tree. Round them off. Any of these boxwoods can be done whatever, but this one has a more upright, narrow habit. This is Renaissance better boxwood. This is the one that stays kind of less than 2 feet in height if you want to keep it there. So kind of a traditional boxwood height if you're doing some sort of hedging. So if you wanted to row them up and make this, I could turn this kind of wild space into, you know, formal blocks if I wanted to with some of these plants. But we just kind of put them here and there just to, again, you're just trying to settle the eye somewhere, so it's not all complete chaos out here in the garden. There's an Indian hawthorn back here called Clean Sweep Snowbank. Blooms white in the spring, gets a little purple berry on it later in the season. You can see this thing's never been pruned. It's maybe 2 feet at this point, and probably 3.5 feet wide, maybe as much as 4 feet wide at this point. Really clean sweep snowbank is a good name for it because it has really, really clean leaves. Some of the old Indian hawthorn varieties get really spotted up, but again, it's another just a little formal piece back here behind these echinacea, these powwow, is that wildberry there, and powwow white, echinaceas and other perennials, and in a container and all kinds of stuff. Boom, put something there that's kind of the same 12 months out of the year. Right behind the bench, there's a couple of Encore Azaleas that are doing the exact same thing. So just a perfect little round balls to just kind of settle the space just a bit. And you know, the bench is sitting here in the middle of all these flowering things, and you just feel like, well, it needs something here that's just the same 12 months out of the year. One more of the better boxwoods in here in the garden, and we actually have several other varieties of boxwoods I'll show you in just a minute. But again, you wouldn't think of a garden with 400 different plants in it as being, you know, having this many formal plants in it, but it does. And I think, you know, you're coming along this path and you're seeing hosta, there's some ground orchids, ground cover materials, a few planters, some larger growing screening plants. Everything just is kind of a mind of its own, and then boom, you know, in this space we'll put this Babylon Beauty boxwood. This one gets more like 3 to 4 feet, so this is more, you know, probably the most traditional sized boxwood overall. We moved this one this spring, so it's just settling back into a home. We had it in a very crowded neighborhood, and this spot opened up, and it was the absolute perfect spot for this one. We can keep it 2 feet by 2 feet, or let it become 3 or 4 by 3 to 4, something like that. Distilleum, this is a Bayou Bliss Distilleum here. This is another evergreen shrub that we're not really growing for flowers. It does flower in the early spring, but not very showy. So we just keep this one as a little formal hedging plant. I'll prune this back March or April back into slightly more formal shape, and then we'll let it grow out over the course of the season. But again, it's something here when all of when these annuals die back, when this ground orchid dies back, when, you know, all of these things go to sleep, you know, these are the things that are still going to be here, these little formal shapes that are left for the wintertime. Don't discount boxwoods in shady spaces. They're actually understory plants. We tend to grow them out in full sun spaces in our gardens, but they work great as understory plants. You may have to prune them just a little bit more. Then there's things like this Utopia Plum U, and there's a lot of different Plum U's that can be used in kind of formal shapes. This one is fairly new, so it hasn't been pruned like that at this point, but I could keep this in a very formal shape if I want to. I kind of like to prune it back a little bit and then let it come back out and do this look for a little while, and then in the late winter I can cut it back again. But that one's a good one for having, again, something to settle the eye in a shady space. We've also got a Ralston's Hardy Viburnum back here that blooms a good portion of the year, but it's never been pruned back here, and it's just a perfect little evergreen dome. Here's another space, and I think you saw where that heritage boxwood was in the front garden was at the end of a path. And so this happens to be an adjoining path space here, and we used this weeping redbud as kind of the focal point for that. But then in order to, you know, have all these other flowering herbaceous things that go to sleep, we then installed a few perfect little domed formal plants here. There's a dwarf pittosporum here. There's a boxwood called Lucky Charm that's in the back. It's got a narrow leaf. It's a very interesting boxwood. I need to get some of those leaves off of that from that redbud. And then down in front of that is a dwarf barberry. That's super slow growing. I don't think this one will ever be available out on the market. A lot of people asked about it during the open garden. Beautiful plant. It's just so slow growing that a lot of growers just not going to be interested in waiting 3 years to grow a barberry. That's a barberry that would show up on the shelf in a 3-gallon pot for $70, and I don't think people are going to do that because if it takes 3 years to grow it. Great plant. Haven't seen it flowered. Don't think it'd be part of an invasive issue. great plant anyway. But perfect little example. Doesn't have to be that plant, but a perfect little example of a few things that are placed here. The barberry will go to sleep in the winter, but it has such a perfect little shape that hardly matters. It still looks like a formal shape. The other things here are evergreen, not the tree. There's an azalea on the back side of it, low growing camellia on the other side of it, but all things here so that when you're walking in this path and these perennials have died back, annuals have died back, grasses like plants may look a little rough in the winter, there's still these little balls you know, that look good 12 months out of the year. In this, our vegetable garden is a definite, you know, chaos environment where, you know, all these vining tomatoes and vining cucumbers, and then we've put a ton of pollinator plants around it. We have a perennial border behind it, and then we have herbs out here on this front part, and there's some butterfly bushes. We're trying to get as many pollinator plants here together as possible, because you'll find that your vegetable garden will be pollinated a lot better if the pollinators have a lot of reasons to be here. But within the chaos, we've done, you know, some of the, actually some of these butterfly bushes are kind of formal shapes, but I have a 2-ball Buxus sempervirens, which is a variegata, which is the variegated. There's a green stem in here. Let's do that while we're doing this with another thing that we can see here. If you see a green stem in your variegated plants, get that out pretty quick. But that's the variegated common Buxus, English boxwood, whatever you want to call it. But that, I've got a 2-ball topiary there and a 1-ball topiary on the backside. This is a Japanese holly, Ilex crenata. This is a gold sky pencil holly. This will be available on the market in the next few years. But again, it's just here to have something that when these butterfly bushes die back, the few annuals we have along the front and other things, the vegetable garden just disappears basically, except for we'll grow some greens in there potentially, but all of these little things here and there. We did this all over the garden, and I think when people come and visit the garden and they really get to see that, hopefully you guys will come, you know, that haven't come to the open garden will come in the future and see what I'm talking about. But it's just these, you take all the fun, you go buy all the fun plants, right? And you plant those fun plants, these interesting things other people don't have, things people question, what is that? What is that? And then you use these other things, these evergreens, you know, here and there, just to kind of settle the eye occasionally in the garden. So it's not full on chaos. It allows us to design much easier, having something that's always the same in some spot here or there in the garden. So what's your go-to kind of formal plant for your garden, whether it's boxwoods or whatever it is? Do you have some sort of plant that's just kind of your go-to thing? If you were creating a low hedge or a formal garden, what would that plant be? Let us know down in the comments below. Thanks for watching.